What's up, my fellow frilly folk? It is I, the Bard in Bows, and welcome to Why Lolita? So real quick, chord rundown. I am wearing a chocolate rosette in ivory by AP, as well as some AP Riffs cuffs, an indie little chocolatey ring, and a matching head bow, so yay! If you've ever wondered about Lolita fashion, if you are curious about getting into it, maybe you've always sort of had questions, there's a lot of really great resources here on YouTube, but one of the things that I want to address is why people get into this style, because there's a lot of like, what it is and where does it come from, you know, how do you get it? Just real quick, I will link to some videos down below, but if you don't want to go clicking around, Lolita fashion has its roots as far back as the 1970s in Japan, gained a lot of traction in the 90s when young women decided that they didn't want to go straight from college to wife to baby maker, and they started dressing in really, really frilly, girly, cutesy things so that they wouldn't get a husband. Later on, there was a band called Malice Miser, who sort of refined the visual kei style. Mana-sama, who I'm sure you've seen if you are in any Lolita space whatsoever, brought it sort of to the forefront, and then the early 2000s saw just an international boom of Lolita. The best way to describe it to someone who doesn't have any idea what J fashion is it's princess chic. It's just a huge, like, explosion of femininity walking around at, like, Starbucks. So that's my quick rundown of what Lolita is. But why do people decide to get into this? Why spend, I believe this dress alone was $300? Why spend so much money and so much time and so much effort, and why follow these, like, seemingly ridiculous rules? Why do any of it? The first reason is pretty simple. People just like the fashion. My first year or so into Lolita fashion was bad, and so about 8 months in, I was like, fuck it, like, I'm not gonna do it anymore, I'm not good at it, it's not for me, whatever. But then I started going back to places like Lace Market and Wonderwelt, and I started like looking at my friends' outfits, and I missed dressing up. After a few months hiatus, I decided, you know what? We're gonna try it again. And I'm so glad that I did, because I'm so much happier now. It's okay to just like clothes, because that's what they are, they're clothes. Yeah, like, you can have a deeper reason as to being a Lolita, but if your only reason is like, I like the clothes, that's as good a reason as any. Reason number two, the community. So one of the things that I love about Lolita and alternate fashions in general is the community that sort of surrounds it. I actually got into this fashion in an attempt to find new friends. I had just moved from San Diego, which I had spent about 10 years. I was born here in LA, but I moved back to finish my schooling, and all of my good friends were down in San Diego. I'd been away for so long, I really didn't have a lot of friends up here. I knew some people who were into Lolita, I expressed that I was really interested in it, and what came from that eventually was just meeting all different kinds of people. LA has a huge Lolita community. California just in general has like communities everywhere. And I met some amazing people, you know, I had some fabulous experiences, like International Lolita Day, Disneyland Lolita Day, just like little tiny meets here and there. Boy, I miss going to places. Anyway, it's also really, from my experience, it's also been really like queer accepting, gender non-conforming accepting. Like, if you are from any walk of life, however you identify, there's a Lolita space for you. And that's something that really kept me here. It was just how accepting everyone really was, which was great, because when I first got into the fashion, I had sort of that common misconception that a lot of newbies have, which is, oh, Lolitas are gatekeepers, oh no, it's such a hard fashion to get into and it's so expensive, ah! Alright, if you are interested in getting into this fashion, yes, there are rules. This is not like any other alternative fashion. This isn't like regular goth, this isn't like steampunk. There are guidelines to what you have to follow in order for your outfit to be considered Lolita, and that is rooted very deeply in that community that I just mentioned. Lolita is very recognizable. If you see sort of that petticoat, that cupcake shape walking down the street, you'll be able to recognize it in an instant. And by making sure you follow those rules, those guidelines, you're able to essentially uphold the quality of the fashion as a whole. And if, you know, that's not your thing, like there are plenty of like Lolita adjacent fashions that are way looser as far as interpretations go. Like I already mentioned goth, there's Otome-kei and other visual kei, fairy-kei, decora, whatever you're into. If Lolita is like, if it's too restrictive for you, there are plenty of other fashions to get into. If you're able to like stick to it and like realize like, okay, like these are the rules, these are the guidelines, then you'll be fine. The third reason people join Lolita, at least in my experience, is actually a pretty personal one, and it has to do with body image. Some people wear Lolita because they don't feel as beautiful in normal clothes as they do in Lolita. Some people do it because like that's the only way that they can express themselves artistically. A lot of identity, a lot of, you know, self-expression, which is great. And that's for me as well, but for me specifically,
she's got huge tracts of land.
So I developed really early. I started developing in middle school, and I've always been an hourglass figure. And yeah, there are some times when I'll dress in like a short dress with a low cut neck and go to a bar and be flirty and like really feel my body and love that part about myself. But I've been objectified a lot, and it's usually in times when I'm in like jeans and a t-shirt. You know, for example, I think I was 16 and I was with my family. We were at a get-together and I walked out into the living room, jeans, t-shirt, and my little like 4-year-old cousin just like shouted in the middle of the room, "Ruthie has big boobs!" Yeah, I thought it was hilarious at the time. My grandparents, not so much. But you know, the first time I was catcalled, I believe I was 13 years old, and I was walking home from the store, like summer, had some shorts. Yeah, it gets a little grody. Here's another example. ALA, like quite a few years ago now, I ran upstairs to take off the cosplay that I was wearing to go play D&D. Now, cosplay I was wearing was this, Kratos, which I was literally walking around in like a bra and like shorts and like a Spartan skirt. Like that wasn't an issue then, which is kind of hilarious. But when I changed out of it, I left the gray face paint on and I just had like shorts and like a tank top. And I went down to play D&D, and I think I knew the DM, but I didn't know all the players. And I was playing with a guy who was doing like a dwarven barbarian or something, and literally every in-game comment was about my boobs. Every single one. Like, first couple of times, you know, I'm an actor, like, I can flow with it, you know, like, whatever. He just kept, there was always something he had to say about my boobs. And I was like, bruh. First of all, I'm gross as f right now. I got like gray face paint, my hair's a mess, I'm like sweaty, I need a shower, but I wanted to like make the time for the game. And like 3 hours, a 3-hour game, because it was like a tiny little like one-shot game, and he just would not stop talking about my f***ing chest. Like, anyway, so what does this have to do with Lolita? Kind of a lot, actually. For those who know me in person, this is kind of like what I'm like. I'm very big, I'm very loud, I take up a lot of space, and I enjoy like talking to people, meeting people, sort of experiencing new things, and I like dressing up. I like walking into a room and like being present. But Lolita has this innate ability to remove any sexualization from my body whenever I want. And that's amazing.
I can be bold and big and beautiful, and I mean, Like, look at me, like, who's gonna get off to this? Like, you can't even tell. For the first time in my life, with Lolita, with this fashion, it feels like I've given my body an off switch. Because never once in the years that I've been wearing this fashion have I ever been hit on, catcalled, objectified. I've gotten the occasional weird comment, but weird as in like, are you Bo Peep? No one is looking at my chest, essentially. And it's almost like a superpower. I get to be who I am and express myself and be this big, bright person without running the risk of being objectified, and it's kind of amazing. So that's one of the big reasons why I personally am into Lolita. Of course, whatever your reason, it's all good. It's all good. Whatever your reason, if you love this fashion, go for it. There is, unfortunately, a lot of misinformation because of the poor association between the name of our fashion and the name of the book that shall not be named. There's tragically, like, at least in the West, this conception that this is some kind of fetish. No, in my own personal experience in the years wearing this, it is anything but. And that's one of the reasons that I love it so much. So anyway, if you like this video, please leave that like, love down below, hit that subscription. I'd also love to hear in the comments, like, what's the reason that you got into Lolita? Or are you thinking about getting into it, but you're not super sure? Like, let me know down below. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Ciao!